Republican from Indiana, Congressman and member of the House Freedom Caucus, as well as the House Budget Committee, Marlin Stutzman. Great to see you. So roughly a dozen Republican House members were holding out or voting no until President Trump got on the phone. It reminds me of a story about Nelson Rockefeller, who was the governor of New York at the time, who was trying to pass something, and he was getting resistance from his own party. And so he would call up Republicans to go meet with him. And they would say, you know, Governor, what can you give me that I don't already got? And Rockefeller said, a primary. I'm wondering, what was the little bit of arm twisting that went on between, leadership, the president, and those who were on the fence at the end?
Yeah, well, Rob, happy Independence Day, and it's been a big, beautiful weekend. It's been a very interesting week, obviously a good week for America, but also a good week for Republicans and especially President Trump. For myself, after the Senate passed their version earlier this week, it was one of those things where there was a lot of mixed messaging coming out of the Senate. Wasn't exactly sure what the information was. What did they actually do to the bill? There was at one point we thought that they had taken out the provision to ban illegals from Medicaid. And so it was just kind of a scramble there for us. And so once I got back to Washington, reached out to the White House right away because I wanted to support the president. I wanted to support this bill. I wanted to make sure that, it's going to get across the finish line. But, there's always this uncertainty exactly what's in the bill. And especially after some of the stories came out of the Senate. And once I got to D.C. and was able to have those conversations, it was very productive. In fact, the president, the White House, the Speaker's office, I tell you, Rob, the conversations were very respectful. They were very positive. I know there's some talk about some primaries for a couple members, but overall, the Freedom Caucus and other members really did, I believe, went through the bill thoroughly to make sure that it's a strong bill. Which it is. And then, of course, setting the table on some of those things that could be done next to work on our debt and deficits, which is our biggest concern.
Well, when you have a 30-member majority, it's one thing and people can get a pass. But when it's this close, everyone has to stick together and, hold your nose at times. And that just goes with the deal. What was at stake here was a massive tax increase for ordinary Americans. That's the biggest issue, I think. A lot of the other stuff kind of gets muddled in there, like, well, what does that mean? But, the tips on overtime now, you can take a deduction, the tax credit for children, for senior citizens. They get a deduction now, a write-off as well, just for being a senior. And that helps in retirement. So there were a lot of good things in here that really didn't get into the messaging. Democrats, obviously with the media, were able to kind of paint it the way they wanted to frighten people. Yes.
No, Democrats did, their job more than just giving actually what the facts were. They actually just simply are bold-faced lying to the American people. They keep saying that this bill is for billionaire tax cuts. There's about 900 billionaires in the United States, more than any other country in the world, by the way, which we should all celebrate. That means that people can rise up from wherever they started to become successful. But no, you're right. In a lot of cases, back during the Obama years, in my time in Congress, we were always voting against a bill because of what was in it. Right. In this case, it really wasn't voting against the bill at all. About what was not in it. We were trying to get some more cuts, trying to get some more savings. But this is, I tell you, it's the best bill I've ever voted on in Congress. And I think, Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, made a strong statement when he suggested that we really made this bill not only just about tax policy, military, border, but also about spending, because it's the largest spending cut in history in Washington, D.C.
Did Hakeem Jeffries stop talking yet? I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, well, I think there were a lot of Democrats upset as well because they were all planning on getting out of town, and he held them there longer.
Congressman, it's good to see you. Have a great 4th of July weekend, and that big, beautiful bill. I think America is going to like it when they get to know it.
Absolutely. I agree. Thanks for having me on, Rob.
Thank you.